Welcome to this explainer. We're diving straight into the incredibly fast-paced, microscopic world of your own cellular factory. If you stop and think about what actually keeps you alive from moment to moment, you probably picture macroscopic things, like your heart beating or your lungs expanding. But honestly, the real magic is happening on a much smaller, invisible scale. Every single cell in your body is essentially a bustling, nonstop manufacturing plant, pulling off these complex biochemical operations with mind-boggling precision. So today, we're going to explore exactly how this factory operates at a molecular level, and we'll meet the highly specialized little workers that make life itself possible. Think about it for a second. How does a living cell manage thousands of separate, simultaneous chemical reactions every single second without, spontaneously combusting or totally overheating? Naturally, the complex processes required to keep you functioning are just way too thermodynamically slow on their own. And if you tried to brute force speed them up using raw heat, the delicate structures inside your cells would literally be destroyed in an instant. So there has to be a secret mechanism at play here, right? Some kind of elegant biological workaround that accelerates these reactions safely. So here's our roadmap for untangling all this. We'll start with the cellular factory, meet the biological catalysts, play the enzyme name game, decode the lock and key mechanism, and finally check out temperature and pH limits. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the cellular factory. To set up the factory floor, we really need to define the ultimate production goal here, metabolism. Now, you've probably heard this word thrown around in fitness circles as a shorthand for how fast you burn calories. But biologically speaking, it's so much more profound than just weight loss. Metabolism is the whole shebang. It's the absolute sum of all biochemical reactions happening in a cell at a staggering rate to protect and sustain living processes. Your cellular factory literally never sleeps, and its operations are split into two very distinct departments. On one side, we have catabolism. This is our dismantling line. It breaks down complex molecules into simpler ones to release usable energy, like when cellular respiration cleaves glucose bonds. Then on the flip side, we have anabolism. This is the assembly line. It requires an input of energy to synthesize complex molecules from simple, microscopic building blocks, kind of like when plants form glucose during photosynthesis. Together, this constant, balanced thermodynamic cycle of breaking things down and building them back up is the very engine of life. Moving right along to Section 2, meet the biological catalysts. So what happens when this cellular factory floor is naturally moving way too slowly to sustain life? Enter our biological heroes, the enzymes. Without them, vital biochemical reactions would literally drag on for years. An enzyme is an organic catalyst, mostly made of complex, three-dimensionally folded proteins. Their primary job is absolutely crucial. They drastically lower the required activation energy. That's the initial thermodynamic hurdle you have to clear to destabilize chemical bonds before a reaction can even happen. By lowering that barrier, enzymes make sure these sluggish reactions happen in an absolute flash. And what's wild is that these rapid chemical processes govern all of nature, not just humans. We routinely extract these powerful enzymes from naturally occurring fungi and bacteria to solve some massive real-world problems. We're talking harvesting bacterial enzymes to break down toxic marine oil spills. We're using them daily in modern laundry detergents to obliterate protein stains. They're even used in the food industry to produce lactose-free milk. They're literally everywhere. When you look closely at their core properties, you realize just how incredibly efficient these biochemical workers are. You only need them in very small quantities. Why? Because they are completely reusable. The intricate protein structure of an enzyme isn't consumed or destroyed after it finishes a reaction. It remains totally unchanged. Plus, they act extremely rapidly, and most of the reactions they catalyze are actually reversible, depending on whatever the cell happens to need at that moment. Let's jump to Section 3, the enzyme name game. With millions of proteins floating around, scientists actually came up with a really elegant naming convention back in the 1960s to identify these specific workers. It's wonderfully simple. You just identify the substrate, which is the raw molecular material the enzyme acts on, and you slap the suffix ase right on the end of it. So if the enzyme breaks down the complex sugar lactose, it's called lactase. If its job is to break down lipid fat modules, we call it a lipase. It instantly turns a chaotic soup of proteins into a clean, highly readable biological roster. But, there's always got to be a few rebels, right? There are some historical exceptions discovered way before that logical naming system became standard. Enzymes like pepsin, trypsin, and renin totally break the ACE suffix rule. Even though their names don't scream what substrate they bind to, they're incredibly vital catalysts, especially for breaking down proteins during human digestion. Pepsin, for instance, does its heavy lifting straight in the highly acidic environment of your stomach. All right, section 4, the lock and key. To picture how these tiny workers handle raw materials with such breathtaking precision, scientists use the famous lock and key hypothesis. See, because enzymes are folded proteins, they have a very specific physical groove on their surface called an active site. Think of that as the lock. The raw material, the substrate, acts as the unique key. If that substrate key doesn't perfectly fit into the enzyme's active site lock, absolutely zero work gets done. But once they successfully bind together, the activation energy drops, the reaction goes off, the new product leaves, and that enzyme lock is instantly ready for the next key. Which brings us to our final stop, section 5, temperature and pH limits. Despite their incredible power, our biological heroes are absolute divas when it comes to the working conditions. Let's look at temperature first. As the environment gets warmer, kinetic energy increases. Molecules move faster, they collide more often, and biochemical work gets done a lot faster. In fact, the general rule is that enzyme reaction rates practically double with every 10 degrees Celsius rise. But there's a limit. This acceleration peaks at their absolute optimal working temperature, which in the human body sits right around a cozy 37 degrees Celsius. But watch out, if the core temperature pushes past that optimum, say it starts climbing towards 60 degrees, disaster strikes. We're talking denaturation. The extreme thermal heat literally breaks apart the delicate chemical bonds holding the protein together. That perfectly calibrated 3D active site, it permanently unfolds and melts away into a useless string of amino acids. The lock is gone, the key can't fit, and the metabolic pathway completely shuts down. Which, by the way, is exactly why high, prolonged fevers are so incredibly dangerous for us. And this extreme sensitivity extends far beyond just temperature. They're incredibly picky about local pH levels, too. Each enzyme is specialized for a specific microenvironment. Pepsin thrives in the highly acidic pool of your stomach, around a pH of 2. Salivary amylase likes the near-neutral environment of your mouth. Meanwhile, trypsin requires the distinctly alkaline conditions of your duodenum. If you suddenly drop any of these enzymes into the wrong pH, the electrical charge of their active site is physically altered, and that crucial enzyme-substrate complex just cannot form. So, bringing it all together, we're basically complex walking, talking factories kept alive by incredibly delicate, invisible workers. These enzymes govern the speed of life itself, turning slow thermodynamics into the rapid, dynamic existence we experience every single day. And as we continue to extract and deploy them in massive global industries, it leaves us with a really fascinating question. If our entire existence relies on these fragile microscopic locks and keys, what other untapped cellular secrets could we harness to shape our future? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the incredible mechanics of the world inside you.